Yeah, I'm good. I'm having a great time.
Good. Kicking hornets nest. Yeah.
Yeah,
Us bad girls. Kicking hornets
yes,
nest
that's that
constantly.
girl.
And we're gonna talk about that too. Actually, the fracas last week over Dr. Mary Kelly Bowden, her interview with Dr. Haskell, and the response from Robert Malone. We'll do that at the end
Uh-huh.
of this interview because it's important.
Mhm,
Bob Malone has attacked viciously Dr. Mary Kelly Bowden again. It's not okay. We'll talk to
mhm,
you about that in a bit, Sasha.
mhm.
Let's start with the MAHA summit. What were your thoughts last week? A who's who, not of medical freedom people. You weren't invited. I wasn't invited. Mary Talley Bowden wasn't invited. Dr. Peter McCullough wasn't invited. Dr. Naomi Wolf wasn't invited. Debbie Lerman wasn't invited. I don't know who was invited. There were no vaccine injured. There weren't, the backbone of the medical freedom movement. People were injured by vaccines or lost something for refusing vaccines. Like nowhere to be found. It was a who's who
Uh-huh.
of insiders and technocrats. Your thoughts on the MAHA summit?
Right. So the MAHA summit was headlined by, I believe, Regeneron Pharmaceuticals and CRISPR Therapeutics CEO. By the way, it is in congressional disclosure that Robert Kennedy Jr. holds stock in CRISPR Therapeutics, although
No
not a large
way.
amount. And yeah, it's a nominal amount, and right now it rounds to zero, but still it's symbolically important. And one of the key executives in CRISPR Therapeutics is also last name Kennedy. I'm not sure if they are related or not.
Okay.
And so it's symbolically important. So they were headliners of this event. There was no mention of vaccines or vaccine injured at all. Marty Macri was going to do fireside chats about how to make American biotech accelerate. That's what MAHA is now, apparently.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And that was
So,
Macri. Tell me, uh, was Palantir involved in this?
of course, yes. So the Palantir is always behind the scene, either behind the scenes or in front.
Mhm.
This part, I'm not sure if they were prominently involved or not, but they are always in the background. As I said, in the Operation Warp Speed and the production of mRNA vaccines, every pharmaceutical company had Palantir office and DoD office on site, and Palantir was in
Mm.
charge of and Palantir and DoD for the practical purposes is the same here, and they all the distribution was handled by Palantir, a secret taken outside of regulated pharmacy distribution chain in the United States, completely non-transparent, but of course all the data hoovered up by Palantir, and
Wow.
yeah, but so and in other highlights from MAHA events. I send you this screenshot from these tweets. I don't know if you can bring it up or not, but
Yep, I'm gonna bring it up.
the
Yep.
there was a tweet about event. One of the MAHA events was anti-age. It was headline something like anti-aging and brain computer interface with participation of this internet person, Brian Johnson, who is supposed to be this sort of biohacker who takes a
Hmm.
million pills a day and transfuses his son. He's in his 50s and he transfuses his 20-year-old son's blood for anti-aging. It's apparently very
Unbelievable.
popular in. I mean, even remember the show Silicon Valley, which was very funny and very
Okay.
accurate. It
Yeah.
had a Blood Boy episode exactly about this,
Hmm.
about these oligarchs, Silicon Valley psychopaths, using transfusions of young blood
Hmm.
for anti-aging purposes. There's even a company, I think it still is around. It was temporarily sort of shut down by FDA, but I think they're back around. It's called Ambrosia, something
Yep.
Ambrosia. And they
It
were
is
selling
ambrosia.
blood transfusions for tens of thousands of dollars. And I can say, I looked into this. I wrote about this and I looked into this. And while, yes, you can temporarily feel better with the transfusion of blood, that's why they do blood transfusions for terminally ill people and people on
Right.
immunotherapies or chemotherapies or something like that. It does work, but blood regenerates within days or weeks, weeks to days, and it's a temporary effect. It goes away, so you need to constantly transfuse young blood. And the question is, where is this blood coming from for these rich people, right?
Yeah.
How is this being traded? We know that organ trafficking and these sorts of things is becoming a huge global problem.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
And so the question is, how is this happening? Who is providing this blood? And many other ethical questions. And it's only a temporary effect, and it does
Mm.
not make you live forever, and it doesn't make you look young or anything. Brian Johnson looks like a warmed up death. Frankly, he looks creepy. He also
Yes, they
has
do.
myocarditis from mRNA,
Oh,
and
wow.
and so that's there. Yes, this person,
Yep.
it looks like a plastic doll, frankly. I think that's maybe a fake hair, but I don't know. And
They all look like death warmed over. Peter Thiel especially. He looks like Skeletor.
oh,
I mean,
yeah,
if we're gonna do the Marvel characterization of these villains and so-called heroes, I mean, Peter Thiel is Skeletor. The guy looks
hmm,
terrible. And I believe that Peter Thiel also admitted to doing young blood transfusions. I'm not sure if he's
hmm,
still involved in that, but I also believe he was somehow invested in Ambrosia and
uh-huh,
some of those types of companies. So these guys are really, really into this. Elon Musk looks terrible too. He looks, I
yeah,
mean, they're all a lot of them are into shrooms and hallucinogenics and
yeah,
all kinds of pills and dope and drugs. They hang out in sweat tents. Apparently, Bobby Kennedy Jr. met Callie Means, who orchestrated all of these alliances, the Bobby Kennedy Jr. Trump alliance and the big tech alliances with Trump and Bobby in a sweat tent in Austin, Texas. Okay. And that's on the record. That's on the record. Callie Means admitted to it. He was high on hallucinogens. He admitted to it. It's unclear
uh-huh,
whether Bobby Kennedy was partaking. That's how crazy these, and they're all up on the stage. Here's the tweet from Deputy Secretary Jim O'Neill. Expect a lot more of this. And then Brian Johnson was cool to see reversing aging be a topic of discussion in DC yesterday. Hosted by Robert Kennedy, our panel was U.S. Deputy Secretary of Health and Human Services Jim O'Neill, plus Brian Johnson, plus Bobby Kennedy. Nowhere for the vaccine injured. No discussion of the people who were injured by the mRNA shots. That's so
yeah,
disgusting. Like anti-aging now is the thing. Wearables, hacking your
uh-huh,
biology, biotech, all of those things. It's
yeah. They
frankly
also
wretched.
had in the back, it said anti-aging and brain computer interface. And Jim O'Neill
Oh
tweets
yeah,
and says,
yeah,
expect more of this. So
yeah. It says reversing
so
aging and brain computing interface. So that's the
yes,
chip in your brain that hooks up to their AI and makes them all look like they're on death's door. Like they literally like
yeah.
this is right here 100% certified organic human right here. Like no mRNA, no like which do you want? I mean, it's insane. Same right. Unbelievable
And
that that's like going to be the new thing.
it's
Wow.
incredible. And also the whole I think this group of people has really anti-human beliefs, anti-god,
Mm.
anti-human beliefs of this kind of, we are just going to hack the human body in variety of ways, and they call themselves biohackers, these communities of which Brian Johnson originates. He's a media celebrity who takes drugs for clicks and likes, and various recently he took something like several grams of mushrooms, and Why? Because maybe because there was not enough clicks and he needed more clicks. And he himself, I mean, he himself said it was terrible. Yeah, it's about 10 times or more than is recommended. Not that I know anything about it, but it's
Right.
really dangerous. And so he is encouraging this kind of behavior from his followers. Just reckless, absolute reckless. You take hallucinogens 10 times the average dose. It's what are you trying to do?
Yeah.
Encourage somebody to overdose? And
Yeah.
anyway, so and that's the person that's headlining MAHA event.
Yeah.
You know,
I
that's
don't
what
think that
they.
most people in the medical Yeah. I don't think that most people in the medical freedom community imagined this when they imagined MAHA and Make America Healthy Again. They're also obsessed, Sasha, with opening up the ability to experiment on humans. And
Mhm.
it's found its way in some of the legislation and also the executive orders and some of the presidential memorandums. This expansion of, I've seen Elon Musk really trying to push this. Well, we need new breakthrough therapies and we need to cure cancer and we need to do all these wonderful things. So, and they're framing it in like a right to try kind of situation. Well, if this
Mhm.
person is terminally ill, we should open up the ability for them to try new types of things. But I've seen some reports that are raising the alarm bells on this, saying that what they're trying to do is normalize human experimentation. It's already kind of normalized when you think of what they did
Yeah.
to us in 2020 when they injected millions of people with experimental technology, the COVID shots. But I would see them like to expand that even more, mainly because I think that Elon Musk really wants to be a transhuman. Like they want to be able to like replace organs, swap out limbs, swap out livers or brains or whatever so that they can live forever. And they are necessarily going to have to do a lot of experimentation on humans in order to do that. And that's also where some of these crazy tech cities, the magnates, or the technates, where they're cities or regions that are governed by technocrats. They're not nations or states, and they've had some big problems with serious allegations of human experimentation and some of those as well. Have you heard anything about that? Like, I've seen a couple different stories, but I don't know if you've seen or heard anything about that. I think it's a theme that we should probably explore a little more because it's pretty dangerous.
Yes, I am going to research more into this. As I said, the illegal organ trafficking and semi-legal and legal. I mean, they're all kind of like intertwined. There are
Right.
clean networks and not so clean, but they interact, and it's a very concerning trend. I've seen in several poor neighborhoods here, like in the shopping malls that are going out of business, in especially poor
Mm.
neighborhoods, they are putting in plasma collection, blood collection centers. So, like what used to be Target, for example, is now I forget the name of the company, but it's a chain. It's a large chain, and they're putting in, instead of, they used to be Target, now the same size, a center where you can go and sell your blood, and they're all in the poor neighborhoods, targeting
That's
those
horrifying.
people. Yeah, and so that's horrifying, and this is for profit. They sell these like loyalty cards and incentives and things like that. So that's my sort of next area of research I was going to write about.
Oh, please.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so this is just and this is, Brian Johnson is going to go and say, well, yeah, blood transfusions is a great thing. This Ambrosia is going to go, franchise this business model, I'm sure. So the poor people go sell your blood, and then the oligarchs are going to traffic in it, right? So that's
Yeah.
one thing. Another thing,
Horrifying.
but at least, blood transfusions are not inherently dangerous, unless they didn't screen the blood or something. They're not
Right.
they do work, and they do help people with chemo and so forth. Now, this whole area of gene therapies is
Hmm.
is is horrific. Is absolutely
Okay.
horrific. It doesn't work. It never worked. It only kills people. I've recently written, so coming back to this CRISPR therapeutics, and there are several companies that now work in the area of CRISPR technologies,
Okay.
and which is claimed to be a gene editing tool that you can design, so that you can identify somebody with incorrect genes, and then
Mm,
because born this way, and it wasn't because this child was vaccinated. It's because it's a very rare genetic abnormality that we found. So
wow.
there was this whole story about baby KJ, who was the first baby whose genes got corrected. Apparently, we
Okay.
don't know if he's still alive though,
Mm,
and his genes got corrected by Philadelphia Children's Hospital, CHOP, and
okay.
a few others. There was also MIT, Harvard involved, JD Vance's Amplify Bio, Aldebaran and Danaher corporations. These are the huge behemoths that produce mRNA. So they all got together.
Mm,
They found this baby KJ who had seizures. He had high ammonia in the blood and seizures. And this is, and they said, well, it's because we found that he has a very rare genetic condition. And this is, by the way, occurs 1 in 1.3 million people. Then,
okay.
with the straight face, these people are saying this is a very rare genetic abnormality. Of course, 1 in 1.3 million, but it's very well understood in the same
Oh, okay.
sentence. Okay, straight face.
Great.
It's so rare, but it's already well understood. And now we're going to design a custom gene therapy for him. So imagine, parents, of course, don't understand any of this. Parents are
Right.
devastated. Their child is having seizures. They don't know why. The doctor, of course, after birth at CHOP,
Doctor.
yeah, on the
Yeah.
first day of life, the child gets vaccinated with gazillion vaccines. I looked up in VAERS data set, liver injury is one of the most common things. And there's a variety of liver injuries from anywhere from increased markers to increased ammonia to seizures, brain damage,
Yep.
and death. They're primarily caused by Tdap vaccinations, but pretty much any vaccinations can do it. And right now, half of the injuries, like KJ's, are in children who receive Tdap or in
Mm,
adults who receive mRNA shots. And but of course, and the gaslighting societal tool is no,
yeah.
it's not vaccines. It's because you have rare genetic abnormalities. And here we're going to design CRISPR therapy for you to fix it. So they've designed some sort of custom CRISPR therapy for this baby KJ. When I purchased the paper that they published in New England Journal of Medicine, it came with the protocol that they used, which is 4,500 pages of material. But the key part of it is that CRISPR therapeutics thing is mRNA in lipid nanoparticles.
No.
Yes,
No.
yeah,
So
it's
it's
the
just a
same.
repackaging of the poison
Yes,
shots.
it's the repackaged poison shot. It's exactly the same lipid nanoparticle platform. That's why Acuitas Therapeutics is one of the co-authors of the paper, and because they've donated the LNPs for
Hmm.
this. And then the strain is very much that whatever they designed on the computer as a mRNA piece of it was almost identical to the way they do these COVID shots or any other things with mRNA. It was almost the same molecular weight. I mean, it had some different sequence in it, and they injected
Mm,
it into the baby a couple of times. We don't know what happened with the baby, but the key part is now that whole team. So they use that. This is called right to try. There is a emergency use, which this goes under emergency use, but not emergency use authorization. It's a totally different thing.
unbelievable.
The
Unbelievable.
This is the thing that you can do once. You can apply once, but CHOP, of course, is not satisfied. They want to get reimbursement for a few $1 million per shot, right? And that's why they are going to the FDA for the approval. They met with the FDA, with Marty
Oh,
Macari
gee.
and FDA, and the FDA told, and they said, well, they were proposing protocol for the approval, and they wanted to do several types of animal studies for toxicology, which is expected. And the
Right?
response from the FDA was, oh, no, 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 you don't need to do multiple animal species. And you don't need to do this in the monkeys. You only need to do one rat study. We need to spare the
No.
animal. Yes.
We need
Yeah.
to spare the animals.
We need to spare the animals, but we have plenty of babies to experiment with. So why are you endangering monkeys' lives here? That's the response from the current MAHA Marty Macari FDA.
That's horrifying.
Hmm.
That's horrifying. So
Yeah.
this is CRISPR technology, which is repackaged mRNA technology with the lipid nanoparticle,
Hmm.
pimped to terrified mothers and fathers of newborn babies who have been injected with multiple poison injections, leading to certain conditions in the liver or seizures. And rather than researching this over multiple years in multiple animal studies, so to save the monkeys, they will just inject them into babies under this new category of
Hmm.
emergency authorization that they have created in order to stuff millions, if not billions of dollars into the pockets of their pharma counterparts in a public private partnership. Did I mess that up at all?
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
Correct. And
Marty
by the way,
Macri.
this is not just one incidence of this. It is a current FDA policy expressed by Macari and expressed by Vinay Prasad. They also published a new policy specifically for this, for in response to this KJ baby and CRISPR therapeutics requests from and CHOP. So they specifically for them designed a new policy that is called. It's now they have a new yet another regulatory pathway that is called plausible pathway or plausible mechanism pathway, which is maybe effective by another name. So they're utilizing these military countermeasures pathways, rebranding them, repackaging them, the same technologies, and saying, well, no, 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 this is all kosher. It's a new regulatory pathway that we've designed for these unique, amazing breakthroughs, and for curing very rare genetic conditions. And it's an incredible gaslighting tool. These things are extremely dangerous. Tomorrow, by the way, I'm publishing an article which lists the chemicals that are being used to synthesize DNA and RNA. None of it has anything to do compatible with life. None of it. It's an
Unbelievable.
incredible chemical sludge. It contains corrosives, explosives, and absolutely toxic chemicals for which you cannot even work with them properly. It's huge. I was doing the search actually using GPT, uh,
Yeah. It's useful for
and,
something, I
and
suppose, right?
GPT didn't want to tell me. I mean, it's also all shrouded in huge secrecy, because if you try to search for example, what are the raw materials and processes to synthesize DNA, GPT comes back and
Mhm.
says, "So this is unsafe, because if I tell you, you will build a virus in the lab." Right? And
It's insane.
but I'm telling you, there's absolutely zero compatibility between synthetic DNA and RNA with life. Zero. You will see that list tomorrow and you will be shocked. You can't even stand near that pile of garbage. It's so toxic. They're hazmats, and these things are being injected into the babies, and the parents are told your baby has incorrect genes and we're correcting them. Can you imagine?
I can't imagine. I can imagine. Tragically, I can imagine in this Mad Max dystopia that they seem to want to drive us into. I think that many of these people at the helm have lost their minds. I
Oh
really
yes,
think that they've lost their minds. We're
they
dealing with
take too many mushrooms. I'm sorry. I mean, and
yeah.
they don't hide it. They hang out with Brian Johnson and they take mushrooms in the sweat lodge. So, so what do you expect?
It's like the crazy people. There's these crazy people driving all of us off a cliff. And it's
Yes.
insane. It's
Uh-huh.
insane. Last week I had, you can't analyze the news without a psychologist. I had to have Dr. Joe Sansone come in and do the show with me because I'm like, I don't, what, this is not even news. Like, we're in this really strange time where we're
Hmm.
dealing, I believe, with mad kings, mad rulers, people who have become so powerful, so drunk on power, so rich beyond any realm of imagination through 50 years of cheating financially and rigging the system, so ensconced in their own world outside of reality. They don't even realize they've lost their minds. I mean, I'm convinced of it. These people, and this is why I mean, everyone's like, oh, who are you going to vote for in the next election? I'm like, no, that's this new America First psyop with JD Vance to replace Donald Trump. Like, that's not it. This is
Uh-huh.
not the drone you're looking for. Right? Like, I mean, I don't even
Yeah.
know. I don't even know.
So
Sasha Latapova, go ahead.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know how much time we have left, but yeah, I could briefly also cover the speech I gave at the Western Prize, because I think that's
Yes.
underlying all of this, in as far as HHS is continued military
Yes.
operation. That's why,
So,
with all due respect to everyone, there's this story about Stephen Hatfield being fired, going
yep.
around, and I'm not accusing him of anything. I'm just saying, I don't particularly trust Stephen Hatfield, uh,
Mhm.
because of his connections with Barda, and him not speaking,
Mm.
not even mentioning anything about the subject of my talk, for example, or the presentation I've given about military operation in Barda for many years now. So it's, to
Mhm.
me, that's a little disconcerting. So I'm
Yeah.
totally on board with him being upset, and everybody being upset that he was fired without explanation. RFK Jr. then went on Twitter and said that he was fired for cause, but Stephen Hatfield deserves to know and hear
Yeah.
himself what that cause was, and I would like to know also what the cause was, because for cause, and then no cause explained. And
Right.
so that's one thing. So I'm supportive of him finding out and having some clarity here. The I'm also supportive of him. He says that he was instrumental in canceling those 500 million in mRNA projects from BARDA. Okay, I'm
Mhm.
that's great. That's wonderful.
Yep.
Now, I
Good.
still am concerned. I think Stephen Hatfield needs to be upfront about BARDA operation overall. So in my presentation, I
Well,
discussed
let's do this.
BARDA.
Before you get into that, let's take a break because we do have about another 20 minutes. I can keep you
Mhm.
even a little bit longer if you have the time. So we could go
Yeah, yeah,
till
yeah.
about 1:40 so that you can explain
Mhm,
all that. I don't want to cut you off on that. I'd rather kind of break it here, take a quick break, and then we'll
mhm,
come back. I
mhm,
agree with you about the Stephen Hatfield analysis. I think that it's somewhat of a limited hangout. I'm glad that he's speaking up. I'm glad that they are showing us how the sausage is being made and the deception within HHS, that we're not getting the full story. And I'm thankful for his testimony and for his candor with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, particularly last week in her blockbuster
mhm,
interview. However, there are certain themes that I don't quite understand. And one is this: poor baby Bobby Kennedy and poor baby Donald Trump are being
mhm,
led around by the nose by mean old Susie Wiles and mean old Stephanie Spear. And they are old battle axes. I mean, let me tell you, Stephanie Spear is scary. Okay. She's come after me. She is a scary lady. I've been screamed at twice by Stephanie Spear. It's a great story. I told it last week. I won't tell it again. All right. But so that narrative, Trump's a wonderful guy, Bobby's a wonderful guy. They just don't know. They're being manipulated. I'm so over that theme. It is so false. Both of those women work at the pleasure of the executives, right?
mhm,
Donald Trump hires Susie, and Bobby Kennedy hires Stephanie. So let's just clear that up right away. And then there are the troublesome connections between Hatfield and some of the inner mechanisms of the military industrial complex, the bio industrial complex, and what he was doing before the pandemic. So these are just on the record. They need to be fleshed out. And it's once again your big theme, Debbie Lerman's big theme, my big theme is that we are missing the entire truth of the matter. All of this focus on what's in the shots, what isn't in the shots, how are they harming, getting them off the market, even though I'm okay with all that, is missing the biggest elephant in the room, and that is the fact that it wasn't HHS who did this. It was our own military who deployed this against we the people. That's the big story. You understand that better than anyone, and you've done the research. We're going to get that story again because this is going to pop up again. I have a feeling, Sasha, that your research and Debbie Lerman's research is going to be the most important as we move into 2026. And you guys are going to play a critical role in all of that. So we're going to talk about your speech at Weston A. Price Foundation. Great organization, by the way. Also, your interview with Mary Holland of Children's Health Defense. When we come back, keep it tuned right here because if you want the truth, you're going to get the truth now. You're going to get the truth. MAHA is not giving you the truth. MAGA is not giving you the truth. Okay. Tragically, a lot of our medical freedom people have become very political. So they don't want to give you the truth, but they're going to have to because it's the truth. So we're going to be back with Sasha Latipova to unpack all of this on the Shannon Joy Show. Keep it tuned right here. We'll be back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. Make sure you go to sat123.com/joy. That is sat123.com/joy for all of your prepper needs, whether it's generators, solar panels, Faraday products, ballistic, bulletproof, Faraday bags, you name it, they have it. And everything is always 10% off when you use the promo code JOY. And they also know that I sent you when you go to sat123.com/joy. So if you're shopping for Christmas, make sure to use that website, sat123.com/joy. Use JOY in the checkout and you'll get an additional 10% off the already amazing deals that they feature on my page. Love our friends over at Sat123. So without further ado, let's bring back in Sasha Latipova. You can follow her on Substack. It is Due Diligence and Art, and she is one of the most prolific researchers on the topic of what really happened with COVID lockdowns in 2020 and beyond. Her seminal work with Debbie Lerman, the COVID dossier, is featured there, also linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show today. So just scroll down and click on that if you want to look at the entire report. It is going to be one of the most important documents, I think, in maybe the next few years, Sasha, because it is the truth. I am convinced of it now based on everything that we have seen. The headline of my show today, A License to Kill. Essentially, the major theme of your research is, number one, that it wasn't a health operation. It wasn't Fauci. It wasn't Birx. It wasn't HHS or FDA or NIH or even the President of the United States of America. What was deployed on the American people in the spring of 2020 was a military operation, international in scope, and it was a combination of public-private partnerships plus intelligence partnerships, Mossad, CIA, Five Eyes, you name it, working together to basically color revolutionize the West, all right? Collapse the West under its own weight, and then usher us into what they're trying to move us into now, which is the new global order. This was about compliance and control, and it was a military operation waged against we the people. In all of that, they also very cleverly made it completely legal to kill us, to kill all of us with no repercussion. License to kill is the way that you portray this. We went over this when you originally released your report. There is new interest in your report because everybody is seeing how Bobby Kennedy Jr. is completely betraying us, how MAHA was a complete psyop and betrayal. And now we're going back saying, wait a second, what the hell happened and what the hell is happening? And that is the one area, this truth that you and Debbie uncovered so diligently is the one area that the medical freedom movement just falls down on time and time again. When they focus on the shots and they focus on the movement and they focus on the food and any of the other distractions that they try
Mhm.
to walk us through, we're missing this bigger picture, and it's Democrats and Republicans. All right, so that's
Mhm.
my umbrella thesis. Tell me if I got it wrong. I know there are a lot more details that you can use to
Mhm.
fill us in, but did I get it somewhat right, or am I off anywhere in that analysis?
Yes, yes, this is absolutely correct. I have published on this since I first published. My presentation was called "Intent to Harm," and I
Okay.
published it in 2022. I was the first person, as far as I can tell, who said this is intentional. First of all of this is not a mistake, and it is intentional, and it's not just pharmabed. It's the government is the head of this cartel. Now the
Mm,
governments, so it's a network of global governments, and they're not the most in charge. They have owners behind, central banks, owners of the central
mm,
banks, and the owners are typically hidden. But for purposes of my investigation, I need to know the executive hierarchy of the crime cartel, and the hierarchy goes: the government provides sovereign liability protection to the pharmaceutical consortium, who are acting under military orders, Defense Production Act, and this is same thing as would happen in the global war scenario. The government commandeers
mm,
private sector, tells them to drop everything, switch to production of weapons, and there's a
mm-hmm.
specific legal framework that was used in the wars by the United States, also used in the wars by all kinds of other Western governments. They use exactly the same framework, and so I also compared this to production of Agent Orange, for example, for Vietnam War, for defoliation and
Mm,
all the horrific crimes that they have committed there,
mm,
poisoning the entire country, dumping millions of pounds of this pesticide, defoliants, variety of agent. It wasn't just Agent Orange, but collectively it's called Agent Orange.
right.
And nobody was held liable ever for any injuries or deaths, even to the American service members. I mean, after 26 years or so of private litigation, they were able to set up a compensation fund for those who survived their injuries. It's just Americans, forget Vietnamese. And so those who survived their injuries and refused about 50% of the claims submitted. And after all of it, the survivors received about $3,000 each in
Ah,
compensation. So, and curiously, curiously enough, Brianne Dressen, you probably heard of,
yeah.
AstraZeneca clinical trial participant who is now suing AstraZeneca, with Aaron Siri as a lawyer. Well, AstraZeneca actually offered her about $3,000 in compensation. Do you
Unbelievable.
know where that number comes? Right.
Strange.
So
It's
exactly the same framework was used here. The same framework as was used to produce Agent Orange and do whatever they did with impunity is used now here on the mass scale, on the global scale. So the government orders pharmaceutical consortium to produce unregulated poison,
mm,
that can then given to the military contractors, which in this case involve entire healthcare, entire academia, entire media,
mm,
to
yeah.
then say, you will, inject, recommend, propagandize, censor and suppress opposition, all that. And as long as you do that, those are directives come from HHS now. Actually, there are legal letters were sent to healthcare system explaining what I'm saying just now. It says here,
Okay.
this is how, if you follow our orders, our HHS orders, you can, if you have injuries or deaths, you just have to report them to us. But this whole entire letter will explain to you how to stay within coverage of the liability protection. So you are now, if you're using these mRNA shots as we tell you to use them, then
Right.
you are now a covered person using a covered countermeasure, and we give you full liability shield. And so far, this liability shield has been completely bulletproof. Nobody has been really held liable. There has been some settlements for mandates, primarily workplace
Okay.
mandates, but nobody has received any meaningful compensation for injuries or deaths, and no evidence has even reached the court as far as discussing this on merits. And that's what MAHA is designed to obfuscate. MAHA is designed
Mm.
as a policy to overall deflect from vaccine, any vaccine damage, into
That's
things
right.
like food, Tylenol, red dye, other items, but never discuss vaccines. And you've seen they basically walked everyone over this year. They walked everyone from we're going to remove mRNA from the market, like they were promising during the campaign, to now saying anti-aging and brain-computer interface, and there will be more of it. So
Wow.
that's how they have designed the whole plan. And but it's very clear that they plan to continue this crime. They plan to morph the whole FDA policies to be kind of like backward justify this and say it's all fine now mRNA is platform, and we can develop all these other things from it and never ever go back. Now that's so in the middle of it, I was in my presentation at Western Price, I was talking about the octopus that Barda built. That's why I'd like to
Mm.
have Steve Hatfield answer these questions and explain
Right.
exactly what's happening there. So Barda, I was presenting a slide from Barda.
Wait,
Barda
before
is a
you start
bio.
with BARDA, before you start with that, Stephen Hatfield, what is his connection to BARDA and what is BARDA? Can we start there? Let's just get basics out of the way first.
Yeah, so BARDA is a biomedical advanced research and development authority. It's
Okay.
technically sits under HHS, but it's a hybrid between HHS and DoD, and they have, I think, sort of dual reporting. They, for some things they are like HHS, and for other things they are like DoD.
Mm.
And their ostensible purpose is they were set up to stockpile countermeasures, to develop, facilitate, fund, order them from pharmaceutical complex, and stockpile countermeasures in a national strategic stockpile. And that was all
Yep.
justified when they introduced the PrEP Act, which is under which all of this sits. A PrEP Act was
Okay.
introduced in 2005 by Republicans in Congress. It was opposed by Democrats in Congress, including Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Ted Kennedy, and Richard
Interesting.
Byrd, interestingly, yeah, who spoke very correctly about its utter unconstitutionality because it violates many provisions of the Constitution. It strips us from the rights to sue for injury or death from the manufacturer. It's nearly impossible to get into court, as I've described. Practically nobody was able to so far.
Right.
And
Right.
it has a lot of other terrible features, and it is a license to kill because under
Okay.
HHS, under this framework, you can kill and injure, and HHS will provide you full liability because you're a covered person.
So
So,
this was, just for full understanding, the PrEP Act of 2005. I believe it was the Bush Junior administration. December 22nd, Christmas time, super late. They smuggled it in, and Joe
Mhm,
Biden opposed it. This essentially it transferred power to the HHS secretary, Health and Human Services, and said, you can declare an emergency, a health
mhm,
emergency. It could be anthrax, it could be smallpox, it could be this, it could be that. It's non-reviewable. There are no stopping conditions, no data to justify why you declare it, no requirement for justification of that declaration. It is simply one guy signing a piece of paper saying, we have an emergency here and it's a health emergency. And now
mhm.
all of this apparatus kicks into place. The military
Yep.
apparatus kicks into place. The liability protection kicks into place. We are at war and you are combatants. If you don't take the shots, if you don't take the countermeasures, if you don't want the countermeasures, well, then the US government is waging war against you. And it also gives them the license to kill, literally. They could kill millions of us. And if we're under that emergency use authorization or that emergency declaration, which we still are, by the way, because Bobby Kennedy Jr. will not lift it, even though we've asked him to, he can do it. It's one guy. Okay. So that's the situation that we are in. Am I overstating that?
Yes, that's correct. So that's why because of this complete horror, this PrEP Act declaration that's issued by HHS Secretary, I thought it was a slam dunk when RFK Jr. was appointed HHS Secretary, because I
Right.
talked to him about this exact thing. We've had the same conversation I'm having with you right now with RFK Jr. in 2023. There is a podcast. I was on his podcast. It's on CHD
No.
website. It's on every podcast platform. You can go search it. It's called Militarized Healthcare. By the way, he came up with that title. I did not. And we are discussing
Wow.
for over an hour this whole PrEP Act, the coverage, the license to kill, the military operation, and he is in complete agreement with it. So I thought it was slam dunk. I thought he was gonna do this the first thing in office. He didn't immediately do it. In February, I published an open letter to him. It's on,
Mm-hmm.
I put it on Twitter. It's on my Substack as well. It's a 5-minute video where I'm reminding him of this law and that he has full authority to terminate this. And nothing happened. Eventually, in May, I received a phone call from him where he said, "I know
Really?
what you want me to do." So he knows what we want him to do.
And why won't he do it? What did he say?
At that time, he referred to Trump as well. So he said that he has a president to report to. Okay, yes, Trump and Susie Wiles. He didn't mention Susie Wiles, but Trump was mentioned. And another point he said, and all these people, for everyone who is asking to remove it, I have 100 phone calls telling me that they want these vaccines. Well, I didn't.
They
I
can still
didn't
get
get
their vaccines. Yeah, sorry.
to. Well, yeah. First of all, it's not quite true anymore. It may have
Mm.
been in May, but totally today, if you look at the data, fully about 90% of healthcare workers refuse mRNA shots. So I'm not sure where is that majority that asks him to keep these shots on the market. I don't think that majority exists anymore. People have become educated, uh, and some through unfortunately very hard experience being injured themselves or seeing injuries in their loved ones and children, their horrific injuries. And so I don't buy into that anymore. And that there
Mm.
is a majority, there isn't majority, it's a minority. And the real pressure is coming from the pharmaceutical complex, from Susie Wiles, from Stephanie Spear. And yeah, you're correct. Though these men who are ostensibly our leaders are showing us what kind of leaders they are. They are somehow they're hiding behind these attack dogs that they have hired,
Mm.
and they can't quite bring it themselves to firing those attack dogs and bringing in competent staff. So, for example, all of the leadership at HHS, the political leadership that was brought in with this administration, are utterly incompetent and sellouts, clearly sellouts. And so there are many, many competent people who were on the list, were considered, and were rejected because they're not going to play ball, because they're going to be ethical, because they're going to uphold the
Wow.
law and serve the people and not serve the pharmaceutical complex. And unfortunately, this is where we are right now. We are at the place where the leadership right now protects people who pay them for political campaigns. That's it. They're just funding them into office, and once they get into office, there is a looting operation, and then the next group comes in, same thing. But every time this happens, there is less and less to loot. So I'm telling you, and
Right.
you know,
Well, and this is one area that you and I discussed privately last week. That, and I'm not making any accusations about what went down with Dr. Hatfill.
mhm.
I'm thankful for him coming out and blowing the whistle. We're going to leave it at that. However, what you explained to me is this system where nothing that happens in Washington D.C. is about we the people or the Constitution or fixing things
Mhm.
or helping anyone or doing anything right or good or just or even sane. Like nothing. It is
Mhm.
literally money laundering operation. It is people going to the Capitol to loot and to
Mhm.
steal from the American people as they plunge this country into dystopia. And so
Mhm.
they're just basically grabbing as much as they can and heading for the exits while they drive our country off of a cliff. And so what
Yeah.
happens is they come in and there's all this money, printed money to spread around. And so they reward everyone for the favors and everyone gets the $1 billion contracts or the $1 trillion contracts or the gazillion-dollar contracts. Because what do the zillions mean anymore? It doesn't even mean anything. It's funny money, it's fake money, it's printed money or invented money. They don't even print it anymore. They just invent it. And so it's this feeding frenzy. And what you're saying is like that kind of persisted for about 50 years. I would say ever since we went off
Uh-huh.
the gold standard and they were able to devalue our currencies, they've been able to engage in this. And it's criminal and it's a cartel and it's
Mhm.
fraudulent and they should all go to jail.
Mhm.
But what you're saying is that we're now getting to kind of this end point. And that's why everything seems so crazy. This is
Yeah.
why I think that you get the sense that everything is spiraling out of control because what you're saying is that there's no more money. Like they can print all the money they want in the world, but they're just devaluing the dollar too. We have an inflation spiral, which is
Yeah.
plunging the nation into depression and everybody knows it. And they're trying to tell us one thing and that's not the truth, but everybody knows it's not the truth. And so this is why people are fleeing, exiting. Like we're going to see probably feuds. This is why the feuds are happening, I think, is because of those things that I
Uh-huh.
mentioned. Your thoughts on it? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So exactly right. So this whole thing, it's not like it just happened. This was happening for a very long time, longer than our
Right.
lifetimes. The system was in
Mhm.
place exactly like this. So the corporations get together, fund their team, their political team, and that's why we were always saying it's a uniparty. It's the two wings of
Right.
the same bird, right? So they will just fund the team, these corporations. The team comes in, the political one. The deep state keeps running and churning, but the political veneer comes in, changes over every 4 years. And then the corporations that have funded and bought these congressional seats or political seats of presidency and so forth, they get the contracts. They get the usually, well, all the defense contracts. Uh,
Yep.
Typically, they're
Doing
absolute.
it.
The prices that they pay each other are out of control, and I know it from the healthcare. So when I look at these
Yeah.
vaccine contracts, it's ridiculous the amounts of money that they're throwing at them versus I
Right.
was in the private sector, and how every penny we had to scrap, and like how difficult it is to fundraise. And you
Yes.
think you get a 20 million contract, it's like, oh my god, it's incredible. Here they're
Mm.
giving 400, 500 million here, a billion there, a billion there, for absolute garbage,
Insane.
untested,
Yeah.
unproven, toxic. They just don't care. So that's how they used to operate. So you if you bought the ticket, you get a return. Now,
Mm.
unfortunately, they've debased all the currencies this way since
Yeah.
71. And
Yep.
since the currency is now debased, you print more. Well, now you need a wheelbarrow
Mhm.
to buy a piece of bread. Remember Weimar Republic?
That's right.
And it happens all the time. Happens in every country that debased their currency this way. And
Right.
so they literally can't justify, like they've ran out of mechanisms by which they print the money. There are numerous, but every one of them is sort of at the dead end because the next amount is just gigantic. It becomes more and more, it compounds. It becomes bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And so they can't quite pay their backers anymore as efficiently as they were hoping before. And now I think what we're seeing is all these fights between different programs fighting for, well, you promised me this and you promised me that, and like, where is my trillion now, and so
Right.
forth. And then Sam Altman comes and says, oh no, you need to give me 200 trillion because reasons, because this is strategic. And of course it's all national security. It's strategically
Of
important. It's
course.
all national security. Yeah, so
Of course.
that's what happens. And so partially I would like Stephen Hatfield to talk a little bit more about BARDA,
Yeah,
because what
great.
I think happened there is one of those fights. He wanted to started some sort of a task force to investigate something about mRNA
Mm,
shots. That's what he says. Uh, However, he never brings up the fact that BARDA operates outside of the pharmaceutical regulatory law. It seems that
right.
BARDA justified their existence by what if we get attacked by chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear weapons. And on this what if imaginary scenario, they built this whole edifice of illegal law. And that's the number one thing, that if Stephen Hatfield wants to be a real whistleblower, well, then really discuss this. And
Yeah.
I understand the firing and so forth, but this is the part that needs to be addressed. So what happens is, because BARDA built, so in my presentation, I discussed BARDA's own slides. I love using their own materials.
Mhm.
BARDA's own slide shows that BARDA built a global octopus. There's BARDA in the middle,
Mhm.
and they say we have sponsors, of which is White House and Congress and related agencies. Yeah.
Wow.
On
Okay.
the other hand, we have performers, which is, as I said, it's the pharmaceutical military industrial complex, private sector.
Okay.
They
Okay.
perform the tasks. BARDA is the bank, and actually, in fact, it's referred to as Bank of BARDA. Even Robert Malone mentioned it as Bank of BARDA. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's kind of like a central bank that funds
Okay.
all this.
Crazy.
And
Crazy.
they have
Okay.
sponsorship in the White House. They have the performers in the pharmaceutical, military, industrial sector. And by the way, that part is global because it reaches not just the US corporations, but global corporations. And then on the other hand, they have another, like, I forget, the sponsors, facilitators, or something, executive branch, that contains all the executive branch agencies and departments. So DOD, DHS, DHHS, USDA, VA, even the private finance sector, like private equity, venture capital, is also included. And then, of
Mm,
course, that executive branch of the octopus is also international because it reaches to the foreign governments. And yes, the
wow.
foreign governments, especially the military alliances, intelligence alliances that US has, such as NATO, Five Eyes, also EU, they all have a mirror image of these laws that we have here. They also have
Yes, they do.
countermeasures laws. They also have military countermeasures alliances and stakeholders and so forth. So this is a global public-private partnership, of which
Hmm.
BARDA is in the middle. So that's why I'm very interested in what Stephen Hatfield has to say on this topic.
Okay. Well, we need to get him on then. We need to have an interview with you and Steven, or some type of collaboration, because what you're saying, and I see it in the live chat here, CJP Rumble. So BARDA is worse than the World Health Organization. And I think you're
Yes,
right. I think the World Health Organization is like a front face. It's like it's worse than
front.
Fauci. They're all. It's worse than Fauci. It's worse than Birx. It's worse than HHS or WHO or the UN. It is this kind of secret, inner working, interlocking organization that,
Yeah.
in my opinion, wants to. I think they want to collapse the West and move us into the new economy, which, China's at the helm, India, the Silk Road Initiative, the Shanghai Cooperation Corporation, right? Like that's kind of like where the new hot things are going to be. And then
Uh-huh.
I don't know, they poison our populations, and I guess we descend into second or third world status here in the U.S. or something like that. I'm not now.
Well,
This is what they would
I
like
mean,
to do.
I wouldn't necessarily point finger at China too much. I mean, they're really they're going through a demographic crash, and it's
Okay,
not.
great, good.
They're
I mean,
not a
not for the people.
power threat
Yeah,
that we're being told. And again, it's a favorite line from the military industrial complex here to point finger at WHO, or point finger at, if you don't give us money, China will be ahead of us. So
that's
it's
right.
always,
The
yeah.
the tech, the AI arms
Uh-huh.
race because
Yeah.
we got to be so afraid of China. Oh, it's such a psyop. I got another question here. Diog, oh my gosh, you've asked this 100 times. I see you. Sasha, what was the main purpose of the COVID con? We only have like a minute left. That's like a 10-minute question. But what was the purpose? I mean, I think we explain it all the time. It's power and control by an elite few who want to own everything. I mean, isn't that's the easy answer,
Yes,
right?
exactly. The point was that, well, there are multiple reasons which all worked in one direction. So one of them was they needed to justify printing huge amounts of money last time in 2020. In 2019, they went into repo crisis. I mean,
Yes.
the
Yep.
central banking sector. Yeah, so they went into repo crisis, and that was kind of like they needed a huge infusion of cash to and distributed amongst themselves. They all profited off of it hugely, but that was one of the main reasons was to infuse huge amounts of cash and also stop the real economy. So they needed to deflate us and
Mm.
inflate themselves. It worked
Un-
for, yeah, that's why the lockdowns and all that. So they crushed the real private sector, the real productive part of the
they
economy,
did.
mom and pop shops, farms, and so forth, uh, induced huge amounts of misery just so that they could have like a more valuable money than we have, because our money is not valuable if we can't go and do
Use it.
transactions that create wealth for us, right? So we can't go transact freely. We have to be locked at home while they get trillions of dollars literally poured into their bank accounts. It worked for
That's
them
what they
for
did.
maybe 18 months. It then,
Mhm.
because you can't do that.
Because we fought
So
back. It was the freedom
well,
movement. It was the medical
we
freedom
fought
movement.
back, and it only is temporarily effective. So anyway, so it's kind of like a heroin addict at the end. They have to go higher and higher and higher, and so
Get
that
hooked.
was the huge hit that worked a little bit, and now they're in a big hangover, big hangover, and now they're
Mhm.
trying to do it again. Now there's also, of course, they didn't care how many people they would kill, and in fact they wanted to kill people because they need to reduce their balance sheets. It's too expensive. Social
Right.
security and Medicare is too expensive. Canada is now openly saying that they plan to kill 15 million people through MAID program, medical assistance in dying. They publish papers about it. They publish policy about it. They give targets to the physicians for number of MAID prescriptions they make. So, I mean, it's not a secret anymore. They need to kill the people, especially the people to whom they promised retirements and social security. So that's another one.
Wow.
And of course, control. Grab the remainder of the assets that is there, dispossess us of everything, and grab everything that's on
Mm.
earth and physical assets to themselves.
Okay, well, on that nice note, that's super optimistic. No, I mean, it's a pretty dire picture. One of the things I love about Sasha Latipova, I mean, here's the thing. You got to take the black pill before you can take the white pill, right? Because there is a
Yes,
lot of hope out there. We can fight back. It really comes
exactly.
down to just not complying. I'd
Yeah.
love to do a whole show with you on that. Uh, we are in a pickle right now, Sasha.
Mhm.
And before I let you go, what do you see? What is the way out for we the people of the United States of America? What is the way for us to fight back, get to the truth? I think we're close to it. Like we're getting
Mhm.
there. We're figuring out these psyops faster and faster. But in just a minute or two, if you could, I know it's short. I mean, it's a big ask, but how can we leave this audience with some hope as to what we can do in the near future, because things are going to get bumpy? What are your thoughts on that?
Mhm. Yes. So number one thing, you have to snap out of any illusions that are being pushed on you. As far as there's still, I'm exhausted talking to people who still say, "Oh no, it's just mistake." Oh well, Jay Bhattacharya just doesn't know the data. He hasn't seen the data.
Right.
Or Marty Makary, well, he's such a nice guy, and Vinay is doing a great job. And just stop. Okay, stop. These
Yes.
people are not
Stop.
your friends. They could not
Yeah.
care less about you. Okay, and that's what you have to realize. You're on your own, number one. Number two, it's not a doom and gloom. You can survive this, but you have to be smart and you have to be aware.
Right.
And number one thing is, do not comply. Do not comply. Do not, and push back and be vocal. That's why,
Yeah.
I don't hate RFK Jr. I think he's a great guy. I just want him to be honest and accountable to us. Same with
Yes.
you, same with Mary Bowden. We're not chaos agents. We're not CIA agents. They're trying to
No,
they're
we're not.
trying to paint all sorts. I've been accused of just about anything.
I know you
Also,
have.
recently
I know.
I've been accused of being a man hater for some reason. Uh, uh, I don't
What?
know, but yeah,
Your husband is lovely.
I commit crimes against men for some
Okay.
no reason. I mean,
That's
I've been married
crazy.
to one for over 25 years. I have a son. But I'm a man hater. Okay,
Unbelievable.
I'm telling you,
Unbelievable.
like I've been accused of all sorts of things. Ignore it, move on. Do not comply. Be honest. Be straightforward. Do not bend your principles because some guy is a nice guy and you liked him and you voted for him. Yes, I voted for a bunch of people too. So,
Yeah.
and we need to push back. We need to be strong. We need to also, there's these calls for unity, unity, unity. If you disagree with somebody, you are breaking the unity. Unity is overrated. We need to know
Hmm.
how to live, how to respect opinions of others if they are valid opinions, and it's just we just have different opinions, and find things on which we agree and collaborate openly in good faith,
That's right.
and that's how we're going to live through this.
Yeah. And we are. We know the choices that we're going to have to make. They're going to try to push
Mhm.
us into some type of digital currency or digital ID, and we're going to have to push back
Refuse
against that
that.
and say no. Yeah, we can
Hmm.
reject the technocracy. We can solidify our positions in gold and silver and cash and
Yeah.
land. We can, as Catherine Austin Fitts says, the most important and valuable commodity will be your relationships of trust. Those people
Hmm.
that you know to be straight shooters, to be consistent, to be truthful, people that you collaborate with on a national level, but also on a local level as well. And we just need to buckle down, batten down the hatches, and get ready because this is happening whether we like it or not. Right? They've
Yeah.
done this to us.
One,
Yeah. Go ahead.
one practical advice I wanted to give people: you can in many states, in a few you can't, but in many states you can downgrade your real ID to without that yellow star thing.
That's
So
right.
you can get out of your real ID. Do it now.
Mhm.
Also, refuse any diagnostic screening tests in the healthcare system. Do not do anything unless you are sick and
Mhm.
you really like there's some real problem. Then yes, seek the diagnosis, seek
Yeah.
multiple opinions, seek alternative opinions. Do not inject any biologic. No biologics. As I said, tomorrow
Mhm.
you will read my article. You will see what they contain. Don't
Wow.
inject corrosives, explosives, and other toxic
Right.
chemicals into yourself. There's no reason to do it, and they don't correct your genes.
Absolutely.
The refuse all the diagnostic screening tests
Yeah.
if you're not sick. And in general, refuse anything that government is pushing you, such as digital currencies. No matter how convenient they make it for you, it's a trap. All of it is a trap.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to have I'm going to make a list of all the things. I mean, I've done a lot of the things. Get the big tech out of your home, the smart tech out of your home, out of your car if you can. Maybe buy an older car. There are a million things we can do. I think I'm going to make a big list on that kind of stuff, or maybe I'll work with you on
Yeah.
it, Sasha, because
Yes.
we need to be prepared. All right, we've gone long. Sasha Latapova, due diligence and art. You can also follow her on the Twit as well. Her links are in the show notes at the Shannon Joy Show. My friend, thank you for all of your hard work. You are the best. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Shannon. See you
All
again
right. And I
soon.
absolutely. And I appreciate all of you. Thank you for being with us today. I let the show go a little bit longer because so much of what Sasha was saying was so absolutely important. This is going to be a show you're going to want to bookmark. Share it with all of your friends. We are moving into the next stage of this. Sadly, tragically, I told you so. Electing Donald Trump was not going to save us. It never was going to save us. He was always the guy that locked us down in the first place. And it turns out, well, he was just following orders because it was a larger military operation. And so putting him back in power wasn't the answer that people thought it was. But there are answers out there. That's what we're going to be focusing on the Shannon Joy Show over the next 18 months. We're going to give you the best resources, the best ideas, the best people as we begin to build up that infrastructure for resistance. I hope you all have a wonderful day. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again right here on the Shannon Joy Show.